Simon Miller from WhatCulture Wrestling here with the one and only Frankie Kazarian. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, man. Thrilled to be here. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm always a little bit touched when somebody asks me. Some people don't.
Hey, man. I want everyone to be enjoying themselves, right? You know, it's
I'm having a great time. One of the reasons for that is what we were just talking about. Because again, you have so many wrestlers here with a crazy amount of experience, and I dare to say, none will have more than you. You have now got to that stage where you basically, like the first time you go to wrestling training, whatever we're calling it, if I had said, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, then you're going to be here, you're going to... Surely you'd be like, I don't understand how any of that is possible.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, I just 2 days ago was 25 years from my first time walking into Killer Kowalski's wrestling school. So it's real weird because, you know, it seems like it's been, 2 years, 15 minutes sometimes. So, to just, to see, what I've accomplished thus far, it's real kind of, I try to really take note of that and see the forest for the trees. It's cool. But having said that, when I'm here and I see guys like my friends like Arn Anderson and Jake the Snake and Kevin Nash and guys that have, just guys that I grew up watching, it's cool because I'm still a fan of those guys and now they're my friends. So, and getting to meet a lot of, younger fans, older fans, it's just cool, man. It's a real cool environment.
And given, where you've ended up now, back in Impact, does that kind of feel like a full circle moment? I know the name changed, but it's still the same, it's the same company, right?
Yeah, it really does. It's like you can't tell my story without talking about Impact Wrestling because I spent 12 years there, and I was there in the formative years, in the early times, and through the good times and the bads and the ebbs and the flows. So it's cool, and I chose to go back there. That's the place I wanted to be. I liked what I saw in the management and the locker room, and there's, I think the company's got a really bright future, and it's kind of my way of giving back,
Do you think there is untapped potential there? Because, listen, in my opinion, and again, you can tell me that I'm wrong, one of the best and not the worst, but the difficult parts of modern wrestling is there is so much on TV and streaming and the internet and clips. Sure. People love clips. Yep. That people will now pick and choose maybe more than ever because they have more opportunity to watch what they want. So do you think sometimes actually, because you watch an Impact show, it's all pretty much, I mean, you rarely watch it because this is good and the pay-per-views are really good. So do you actually think we've kind of gone to the point now where even though you've been around for 25 years? Yeah. Then actually if people did revisit it now, you'd realize, okay, the name's the same, the feel is the same, but actually the product's completely different.
Yeah, it is. It's, it's the law of diminishing returns. There's just, the pro wrestling, that's the blessing and the curse. The market's saturated. Yeah. There's so much wrestling and a lot of really, really good wrestling. It's almost hard if you're a hardcore fan to keep up with all of it. It really is. But yeah, like Impact, it's even though we as a company have been around almost 21 years, it's almost kind of the best kept secret in wrestling because the television program's really good. The pay-per-views always deliver. They're really firing on all cylinders, and it's just, what we need to do is get more eyeballs on the product, and that's, something we're actively trying to do. But, I'm there because I wanted to be there. I think there's like I said, I love the roster. I love the management team. I'm just trying to build that brand up and just, I'm all about leaving wrestling better than when I found it, Yeah.
I guess, is that one of the reasons you thought it made more sense to leave AEW and go to Impact? Because you could have more an influence on the entire locker room, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not wired to be a bench player, and that's kind of the role I was assigned at AEW. And, I've always said, the most valuable thing I can give anybody is my time, and that's the most valuable thing I can ask of them. So, the time I have left in the ring could be 5 years, 10 years, could be 5 months. I don't know. All I know is with that time, I want to give it to someone that's going to value it the most. And Impact Wrestling was very interested in bringing me in, having me come home, having me be a guy that do a lot of stuff behind the scenes and help out. So, it's just good. It's almost, a good way to kind of wrap up my story there and, still achieve the goals I want to achieve inside the ring.
You're kind of an interesting, and character may not be the right word, but when you look at what you do in the ring, you have sort of 1 foot in yesteryear and you have 1 foot in the future. Because it's not like you didn't do dives or whatever the hell we call it these days. I don't know. So you could argue you're ahead of the curve. Did you ever think that was true about yourself?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to Alex Shelley the other day at a show, and I was like, we were talking about that. I said, we're one of a few select guys that have 1 foot in the old school and one in the new. Because I was broken by Killer Kowalski, and it doesn't get any more old school than that. But at the same time, I've had dozens and dozens of matches against, the Young Bucks and their ilk of wrestlers, the newer generation, so I understand how they think, but I also come from an old school mentality. So, I find myself in a very privileged position, because I can take what I learned from being broken in and that, and apply it to what we're doing now, instead of just being the bitter guy that says this style doesn't work for me. It's like, well, this style is different, but I think we can blend the two and we can all evolve the business in a positive direction. So it's cool, man. It's cool to be that, that veteran guy. I still feel like a kid trying to make a name for himself. So when people come up and say, oh, they grew up watching me, I'm like, how's that possible? But I'm like, oh, I'm 45 years old and I've been doing this 25 years. You probably have. So it's crazy, man.
But also, if you're going through your history, though, there's so many occurrences of you joining, and I hate the term bigger companies, but whatever hell though you want to call the big
Different
companies,
yeah,
but you always backed yourself. And that's why sometimes maybe you didn't have as big a runs as maybe you could otherwise. But I think now, looking back, gives you integrity, gives you self-worth, and it shows other people you don't always have to just bow down to what people, because look at the career you've had. You have become a literal professional wrestler. That's what you do.
That's my motto this year is bet on yourself. It's like I've done that. I've by nature I have a rebellious spirit. I don't take orders well, and it's like I always tell people, I say, if you bet on yourself, you'll never lose if you believe in yourself, and that's why that's why I decided to rejoin Impact. I still had several years left on my contract and could have just wrote it out and been very comfortable, but I'm not ready to be that guy yet. I'm still in the game, very much in the game. I liken it to someone like, and I'm not comparing myself, but somebody like a Tom Brady, who was still we're the same age, but he was still very good, very passionate. People were telling him to hang it up, and he's just like, and do what? Yeah. I'm saying this is who I am. This is what I do, and it's like, and I'm going to give back and contribute in the ring, and when I'm done with that, I'm going to give back and contribute outside of the ring.
Retired a long time, right? You're retired a long time.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, Frankie Kazarian, genuinely, I appreciate it. I followed your whole career.
Thanks, man.
I mean, it's just one of those things. You pop up and you follow the guy. Yeah. And one of the things always like that guy, don't take any crap from anyone. And I love it.
That's it, man. I mean, if anybody is inspired by anything I do, it's that. It's like you got in a business where a lot of times you have to bow down and, eat shit, for lack of a better term. Sorry if you have to bleep that. I just refuse to do that. And, maybe to my detriment a little bit. But you know what? At the end of the day, I can look at myself in the mirror and know I've done everything possible to make the best decisions for my family, for my fans, for my career.
And you're still here, though. You're still
here,
doing
man.
it. So it must have been the right move. It must have been the right move.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you say it. You've done it. You did everything right.
Appreciate you, man.
Like the video. Share the video. Subscribe. See you soon.
I'm the first man to break Roman Reigns' 2-year winning streak, but we just don't talk about it. Why? Why? Tell me why. I don't understand why. We don't talk about this.
Tell Simon we're going to talk about those ups that he be giving and those downs. So, Simon, I'm looking for you. You dipped out when you were interviewing Woods, but I watch every Tuesday. I go and watch him count those ups and count those downs. And so
it's all him. That's all him.
Yeah. We're going to have to talk about my ups.